Welcome to another edition of the Bulls Guys podcast. I'm your host, Greg Love, switching spots with my co-host, K-Dub. What's going on?
Man, I'm switching sides with you, Greg. I tagged you in, man. You got to do the host tonight, man.
No problem. And our special guest, returning guest, KG. How's it going?
What's going on, fellas? What's up, Bulls fans?
We're going to get back to the episode right after this break. You're listening to the Bulls Guys podcast, where we talk about your Chicago Bulls and give an unbiased take. Thank you for listening, and like and subscribe.
You want the most uncensored and blunt podcast? The Bulls Guys podcast. As only K-Dub and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, Spotify, and all social media platforms.
It's an honor to be able to get in the playoffs. Like you said, the franchise haven't been here, 5 years. So for us to make the jump that we made to be in a position to be able to compete in the playoffs, it's definitely great. Give us the opportunity to further our season and play for something bigger.
So, fellas, playoff basketball. Unfortunately, we took the loss Sunday, 86-93 against the Milwaukee Bucks. But how did you feel about your Bulls yesterday?
All right, well, slow start as usual. I mean, when you got a week off, you know what I'm saying, I expected them to really come out the gates, rolling. You know what I'm saying? It's been some years since, they've been in the playoffs, so I expected them to be on fire.
Yeah.
They made it one hell of a run in that third quarter. However, they went against what got them there. You know what I'm saying? Low post with Vooch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they keep shooting them shots. Levine was just throwing up stuff, and DeRozan, he should have been doing more driving. You know what I'm saying? So, they fought, but I'm still upset. I'm sure K-Dub got more on that.
I'm not necessarily upset at the team. I felt like the game plan that Billy Donovan implemented from the jump was right on point, surprisingly, because I didn't expect him to really be on point as far as a game plan, because I expected the same thing I seen the entire regular season. A lot of ISO ball, a lot of three-point shooting. But that wasn't the case. The Bulls went down early, 0-9, but then once they settled down and they locked in, they were forcing Milwaukee into turnovers, blitzing the pick and rolls, which afforded them to get out and run. And then the Bulls were able to get out and run and make something happen and put the pressure on Milwaukee to foul them or make some kind of play on the basketball defensively. I felt like that was key. And then, going into Vooch into the post, I felt like that was also key. Milwaukee was like kind of flabbergasted by that. And then for Kobe White to get out and run, and he added something to the mix. But I felt like for 3 straight quarters, the Bulls did what they were supposed to do, and the game plan was in. The fix was in until it happened. DeMar DeRozan with the ISO ball, missing 5 straight shots. And I believe it turned when we went up by 5 when it was 69-64, Greg. And then once DeMar started missing, it was down from there. I think Milwaukee went on like a 10-2 run. And then I think we grabbed the lead like once or twice in the fourth, but we just couldn't stop that onslaught, Greg, after that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple points from both of you. The slow start, I'm not going to lie, they had me there early. I thought, like, man, they about to get blown out the gym. What's going on? Mm-hmm. I thought, especially Zach, and it being his first playoff series, right? Like, that was kind of, part of the narrative surrounding this. Oh, it's Zach's first time in the playoffs. I thought he was, if anybody was going to come out, on fire, I thought it was going to be him, just to prove, on this stage that he belongs. But like like you both said, over the course of the game, they they cut into it, and they had a solid game plan. I know last podcast I was a little harsh on Billy. I'm not gonna lie. But he showed, he did have a game plan in mind, an effective game plan at that, right? But like you said, that it came that ISO ball. But I want to get, speaking of the ISO ball with DeMar DeRozan, for you guys' opinions on this quote from DeMar. So DeMar said, "Every shot I took felt good. I guarantee me, Zach, or Vooch aren't going to miss that many shots again. We just got to keep up what we did defensively and then take that to another level." So I'm gonna start with you, KG. What do you think about that quote from DeMar?
I mean, I really don't. I don't like it in a sense because it just means that they okay with just trying to shoot themselves out of a slump. You know what I mean? They got to just keep finding other ways to score. That's what champions do. Good teams do. I mean, if your shot's not going in, after a while, you just got to know that okay, I'm gonna get to the foul line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure that I'm at least getting some type of rhythm. Booch. I mean, okay, he's good for what 3-4 3-pointers, but you gotta switch your game up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was rolling true, but switch it up because you're making yourself predictable. So I don't necessarily agree with that comment. I mean, I read a comment. He said that, hey, I'm not gonna go 6 for 25 again. Who's to say that?
Yeah. So, Kato, before we get to you, let me read the stats off for Zach, DeMar, and Vooch. So DeMar 6 for 25, Vooch 9 for 27, Zach 6 for 19. Again, what are your thoughts on the quotes and then having their actual shooting numbers too?
Well, I think a lot of Bulls fans that follow this team, and I think a lot of people that surrounding the Chicago Bulls have a lot of things misconstrued. I felt like we should have went according to plan until Milwaukee actually stopped us from doing what we were doing. I felt like how we were playing, the defense that we had. We forced 21 turnovers and Bucks turnovers in this game. We only had 11 ourselves. So the Bulls were really blitzing the pick and roll. I was really impressed by that. I was impressed by how they had Milwaukee flabbergasting when they were passing the ball, and that kind of led out to fast break and easy baskets. But once you start, and you got to push Milwaukee in the open court. We talked about that in the last podcast when I was talking about it. Remember?
Yep.
Last podcast we did. And it was effective. Milwaukee was having problems guarding them in transition. But when you slow the game down and you isolate, you're kind of slowing down the game. And Vooch is a post guy. He's going to score a higher percentage of his baskets in the post. Even though he shot 9 for 27 from the field, I still would take his post points over jump shots from DeMar and Zach with defense draped all over him, which were tougher baskets. So in a half court, I will go to Vooch. In the open court, I will go to Zach, DeMar, put Ayo and Kobe on the floor with them with Derrick Jones Jr. and have them run that full court offense and put some pressure on Milwaukee. But unnecessarily, I don't think there's a specific time that we're supposed to go to our three scorers. I just think you got to go with what works. And I felt like the Bulls,
I said, okay.
Yeah, I just felt like when it got to the fourth quarter, DeMar's like, okay, we played this way, so now it's my turn. And it's like, dude, that's not the way it's supposed to go. And then I don't know if you guys heard his latest quote. He said, there's no way in hell I'm going to shoot like that again. Right. So I'm thinking in game 2, he's going to come out and shoot even more shots. So he's just not getting it. Right. This is a team game, bro. Like, you fell off the MVP ladder. They're not talking about you anymore to give you that award because the team fell, and he's just not getting it that he's the reason why we fell. You know what I'm saying? The games that he missed, we played a lot better. I don't know if people realize the games that he missed, we played a lot better as a team. And it's not necessarily, I feel like if you run your offense and everybody's touching the ball and you force Milwaukee to guard you in a full court and they figure it out and they stop you, then you can start going to your ISO guys and say, listen, we can't get nothing through our offense. We need you shot makers to try to make something happen. That's when you go to your big two and then Vooch first, and then you go to those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna sound like a cop out answer. I think actually all three of you are right. I do think that DeMar is right in the sense that they're not gonna shoot that bad again. Or at least all three of them at the same time are not gonna shoot that bad. Now, are we just talking them having a bad shooting night, or is that a result of Milwaukee's defense? I think we'll find that out later. Now, with that being said, I do think that your mentality shouldn't be I'm just gonna come out and try to just shoot my way out of this with just straight up jumpers.
Mhm.
I agree in getting Vooch more involved in the post, and I think we should get a more aggressive Vooch in the post because I think when it comes to Vooch, and I think you can kind of tell depending on who he plays if he finds them intimidating or not. Right? I don't think he finds Brook Lopez intimidating in the slightest. Right? Like in the way that he kind of plays. I was watching a few plays there. Vooch had no problem buying him up. Even on the defensive end, Vooch had no issue trying to body him up. Got a couple blocks and things like that. So I think with that being said, and Vooch is not going to come in there timid, right? I think you need to go to him in the post and feed him in the post. Like you said, when you're running a half court, kind of do it through him like that. I do think the offense does need to flow more organically. And like you said, it shouldn't be so much ISO ball unless you are just completely just out of rhythm.
You can't get
Right.
nothing.
Like,
You see
and
what I'm saying?
there's nothing left. Shot
Right.
clock's running down. You got to get something off. Okay, go for the ISO ball. I'm fine with that. But I do think you should run it through the post more and run it through Vooch. And not that he needs to be, your leading shot taker for the game. I don't think that needs to happen. I don't think Vooch needs to take like 10 more shots than Zach. I don't think that needs to happen. But I do think that Vooch does need to be a credible threat in the post and then open him up for those, I'd say mid-range jumpers. I don't really like him out there on the 3-point line. I'd say get him those 15 footers, something like that.
Right.
I think I gotta just say this, man. I gotta give Billy Donovan his kudos, yo. I do. I've been a Billy Donovan killer, as Kataka know.
Yeah.
I have been.
We all have it.
Yeah, we all have. You're not alone on that boat. We got to eat a little bit of crow today.
And it's rightfully so, man, because I just feel like, I didn't like his laid backness all season. He just sitting down chewing gum while guys turning over the ball and messing up. And I get that, you probably kind of use the regular season, as a measuring stick. But, teaching these guys as they're messing up, that's also a part of growth during the season. Right. And, I felt like, even though the Bulls were in this game, I would have preferred not to go down 0-9 to start the game. I would have preferred not to be down 16. It kind of took them a while to figure it out. But once they did, it was a game. It was on. But I just wanted to go into these playoffs, number one, with home court advantage, and number two, within the top 3 seeds where we can kind of pick who we wanted to play. See, the Bucks had the luxury of losing their last game to kind of pick who they wanted to play. The Bulls didn't have that luxury. They kind of had to take the toughest team possible. Like, why would you want to put that kind of pressure on yourself in the first round to play against the best team? But, all of that is what go ahead.
Well, hold on. I was gonna say you put that pressure on them. You did say I want the tough guys.
I did, Greg, but guess what? I said that because of how they were playing. I said that I said that like once 80% of the season was over, and I realized that these guys have a trend where they're coming out playing lazy, Kataka, and I'm like, they're just excuse makers. Oh, this person is hurt. Oh, this. Oh, such and such. Oh, I need rest. DeMar came out and said he need rest one game for no apparent reason. He just need a rest. Ooh, we have a goal here. We have a goal here. Like, we're trying to win games.
Right.
He old in NBA years. I mean, we get into the age where, or the era of basketball where you having guys sit to rest. Like,
DeMar wants to
do I like
us.
it? No, but I mean, it is what it is at this point where you are getting, you're getting guys to get rest here and there to try to gear them up for the playoffs.
But not to get too far off my point, Billy Donovan did a good job last night. He really did. I didn't have anything bad to say about his coaching, except for this one thing.
Okay.
I feel like he has to develop a trust factor with DeMar, where he's able to pull DeMar to the side and say, "Hey, man, I understand you want to be aggressive, and we all in this together. You know, kind of try to use your teammates a little bit more. You know, when a double team comes, I don't even have a problem with DeMar shooting it, but when those doubles come, you got to sense that and get rid of the ball.
Yeah,
and I feel like he doesn't want to do that. When he's sold on trying to shoot, he's shooting no matter what. And that can't happen. That's not team basketball, especially not for the playoffs.
Yeah. All right, KG, hop in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say to add to that, he needs to also tell Zach the same thing. Those erratic jump shots. I know Zach he's a pretty damn good shooter, but he's not the best shooter. I mean, we can tell by them 3-point contests he keep getting into. But he has to learn that, hey man, I'm gonna have to try to do some post up, man. Even Bradley Beal and other cats in his position, he's changed their game every now and then, do some post up action or some slashing. I mean, I know his knee ain't the best, but Billy Donovan, has to at least be comfortable pulling Zach to the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's funny you guys kind of mentioned that and talking about Billy Donovan and kind of needing to be a little bit tougher and kind of have an attitude change. And gonna switch gears here a little bit. I was listening to J. Will, Max, and Keyshawn, and Max brought up the idea, and I want to get your takes on this, that the Bulls could use a player with an attitude such as one Jimmy Buckets. What would your take be? Because his point was that he basically feels like these guys, the squad that we have, are too nice, that they're just all kind of laid back nice guys. They need somebody with some grit and a little bit of toughness.
Nah, I wouldn't. Jimmy wouldn't be the answer. I'll tell you who would be the answer. That guy that he called soft that plays in Minnesota by the name of Cat.
Yes, sir. Yes,
would
sir.
be the guy. And Cat don't got to score. Cat can pass it too.
Yeah.
He's a triple threat player. That's a center. That's why he's so great. So the answer is not Jimmy Butler. And by the way, do you guys see what he's doing to the Memphis Grizzlies right now?
Cat killing them.
He's destroying the Grizzlies, man. That dunk he had on Jaren Jackson Jr. was nasty.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna reserve my excitement and want for Cat because I'm gonna say this. Last podcast we did, y'all both brought up Cat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next game, the next day when they had that playing game, he played like straight up Dookie, right? Now he did have a bounce back game against Memphis, right? Like I'll give you that. Give Cat props. He did have that nasty dunk, right? But my thing was, like I said, if you're gonna give me the aggressive Cat, who's gonna yam on somebody like you did Jaren Jackson Jr., I'll take it. But we not always getting that, right? Like Cat's aggressiveness, I put that along the way with Anthony Davis's health. You kind of don't know how that's gonna go. Yeah, if he's pissed off, yeah, you gonna get them type of plays from him. If he's not, if he's in a pretty good mood, all right, well, you get what you get, right? So
here's the thing, man. I remember Norm Van Leer's mustard seed story years ago before he passed away. I remember Michael Jordan's intensity, and I was challenged by a Bullseye member today saying I'm not a real Bulls fan. I probably don't even remember who was the star of the Baby Bulls era. And he comes out and says Kirk Heinrich, and Kirk Heinrich wasn't the star of that team. It was
more Ben Gordon. I thought
it was Luol Deng that had a wrist injury, and he was out.
Yeah.
So they handed over the keys to Kirk. But that team was built around, and the best player on that team, at least, was Deng. But neither here or there. They started the season 0-9, end up making the playoffs as a 5th seed against the Wizards. Yeah. And the way we lost, we bounced the ball. Chris Duhon bounced the ball off of a Wizards player's back. well, if his own teammates back and it went to a Wizards player, and that's how we lost the game. And I think it was what was that, game 2, I believe, in Washington, because Washington had the home court in that series. But listen, make no mistake about it, I've been a Bulls fan for over 30 years, man. And for people to challenge me and say, well, you're not a Bulls fan because I expect this team to play with a certain level of intensity, you got to look at the guys that came before these guys that's playing for this team now. And as I'm coming on this team, knowing the history and what this team has been about, if I'm not equaling that energy, I feel like I'm taking away from the culture of the team. The Bulls are a hard-nosed team that teams never want to play. They've always been that way, even after the post-Jordan years. And then Rose came in, and we built it again with Joakim and Rose. And we built another culture with Tom Thibodeau after Skiles went out the door. So we just always been that tough-nosed culture that you ain't just taking no game from us. You're going to have to work for this game. And I felt like for the most part, that's what the Bulls represented last night.
Right.
All right. KG, what about you?
I agree with you. And I did see that people was, trying to clown you for not being a Bulls fan. And you're right. I mean, we're a big market, man. We need to play and have a team that's going to be hard-nosed. I mean, that's what any Chicago team. When you think of Chicago team, you think a hard-nosed, ass-kicking team, not no small market, soft team. And I'm the same way. I got high expectations. Okay, if they don't go all the way, okay. But I expect them to compete. I expect them to go out there. I don't expect no blowouts. I don't expect us to always have slow starts. I want guys to value wearing that Bulls jersey, man, because you just gotta play hard, man. And if you give me that, okay, then I give you your credit.
And that's where I'm coming from, Kataka, because this is the thing, and I said this on the last podcast. I think I represent the Chicago way more than Chicagoans. I know about y'all city. I have visited that city frequently. I've been a Chicago Bulls fan since I was a kid and know the culture of the Bulls. That ain't the Chicago way to just show up and say, oh, we just going to get 2 games and go home. Right. Go home? We're trying to win this motherfucker.
Your expectation is to compete, right? Like if I guess they're looking at it being a fan of being like, oh, well, I'm like you said, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we made the playoffs. Okay, but I kind of expect you to make the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo, right? Like you should be in the playoffs.
But no real Bulls fan would say that, Greg.
Right. I mean, especially coming from last year or the past couple of years, you barely winning 30 games, and then you go around and you get Zach LaVine, you go out and give up draft picks for Vucevic, who ain't been producing as much to his part, and you go out and get DeMar DeRozan and all these other guys, you automatically expect to make the playoffs. Now, we should be expecting to go further in the playoffs. That was my expectations. I want to get us past the first round, not just making the playoffs. I want to get us past the first round.
And real quick, before you say anything, Greg, Kataka, I've never once said out my mouth, man, I'm not happy we made the playoffs. I never said that. I said I'm not happy with just making the playoffs.
Right.
All right, y'all happy we made it. All right, let's get to work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I'm agreeing with your point. I just think that you're gonna get some Bulls fans that, like you said, based on the last few years how it's gone of not making the playoffs, that they're happy, like, oh, we have the confidence that we made the playoffs, right? Like, and again, like I said, your expectations, like you said, okay, great, we made the playoffs. That is a great first step. We're not just here just to be here.
Right.
We're here to make some noise, right? And I think that's the real difference in the mentalities. Yeah. I was saying, Jay Will disagreed with Max just like you did. He said that, like you both said, the Bulls need a defending kind of mobile big because Vooch ain't cutting it, and he's getting killed on the pick and roll, which I agree with. And in going forward, and I know we kind of talked about this last podcast, I think that I feel like you can get a cheaper kind of option at center if you wanted to, other than a DeAndre Ayton or a Rudy Gobert. Maybe like I said, like a Jackson Hayes, a Mo Bamba, take a Jared Allen, like that type of player. I think that's what the Bulls need. And if game one is any indication of how the rest of the series is going to go, I'm fine with that. Because again, I talked about this before, in the fact of it's not so much the fact that they lost, it's how they lose. If they're getting blown out, okay, then that's a big problem. If it's a close game like it was, okay, we just need a tweak here or there. So, and looking at that, yeah, I think, in the offseason, we do need some tweaks. And I'll kind of end my point with this kind of small tidbit of news that came in regarding the upcoming draft. The Bulls have the 18th pick as they won their tiebreaker with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can, get a first round pick to kind of fill that need.
I kind of want proven players, man. I don't want to try to get what we need out of the draft.
We can't. That's the thing, because they're trading their 2023 to Orlando in that Vooch trade. So we gotta use it. At least this year.
I kind of want to use that on a shooter or an extra big, but I think the Bulls need to find a way to get Rudy Gobert. That's really what I think, and or Cat, either one would suffice. I'm hearing people say, Anthony Davis, but hell no, I don't want Anthony Davis in Chicago unless he buys a ticket and sits at the United Center. I don't want him with the Bulls. I don't want him nowhere near us. When we wanted him when he was young, he didn't want to come. Nothing against him, man, but I'm just tired of trying to rehab guys that are past their moment, Right. And I just want somebody that's going to come in here and make an immediate impact and get us where we really need to be. And that's stomping on the Milwaukee Bucks in the Central Division and taking the division title next year.
There we go. What I'm going to say is I agree with you, because Rudy Gobert, I did see that article as well, that story, and Rudy Gobert would not be a bad second option. Mm-hmm. Only way I would do that is we got to get us a legit power forward. I'm not 100% sold on Patrick Will because he didn't show up last game. Mm-hmm. He was my X factor. Yeah. I don't know if it was nerves or whatever the case may be, but if we're going to be able to try to slow down Giannis, we got to have us a legit dog beast as a power forward if you're going to have your defensive guy and somebody like Rudy Gobert.
Right. I mean, he had the 35 when DeMar was out, but it seemed like you got to force feed Pat to really bring the dog out of him.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Pat's not a power forward though. Like, I know he's playing it, but he's a small forward, right? Like that's
true.
More
that is true.
That's more of his natural position. So, I mean, we'll kind of see, because again, we're playing this different era where a small ball, where I guess it's more positionless or whatever. So we'll see how it goes as he gets more experience. Mm-hmm. And even his 35, if I'm being honest, that's great, new career high. I kind of don't count it because it was against backups when Minnesota wasn't playing anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So, I mean, like I said, it's great. You got the win. He played well. I mean, he's played well in spurts. I think too, part of it is consistency and playing against tougher competition to see how he holds up. Like I said, in going back to the shooting and everything, even with Pat's play, it's one game. I will take it as one game, maybe aberration. Maybe he plays better and has a bounce back game in game two. Hopefully their shooting gets better in game two. So we'll kind of see. But we'll get into that in game. What our predictions, what we're looking forward to in game two after this break. Thanks for tuning in to the Bulls Guys podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about us for unbiased and unfiltered opinion on your Chicago Bulls. That's the Bulls Guys podcast.
You want the most uncensored and blunt podcast? The Bulls Guys podcast. As only K-Dub and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, Spotify, and all social media platforms.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Bulls Guys podcast, and we're talking about what the Bulls' game plan should be heading into game 2 and what we should expect for them. So, K-Dub, I'm going to let you go ahead and jump in right now.
Game 2, I feel like the Bulls' energy going to have to be higher. The Bucks kind of came out, and I wouldn't say overlooked the Bulls, but they didn't expect them to play the way they did. So I feel like the Bucks, look, you got one game of game tape now that you could go to and review and say, okay, this is what the Bulls are about when they're giving us a hard time. So we're going to take this away. We're going to take this away. So I feel like Billy Donovan going to also have to go back, and he's going to have to change some things with himself. And I think it's mostly going to be the isolation plays. But I think what you said about Pat, if I was the Bulls, I would go more towards just playing as a unit. And Kataka, yeah, you too, saying that Pat needs to do it. I just feel like we need to play like the baby Bulls. I feel like that team didn't care who was the highest scorer. They just moved the ball around. They just played as a cohesive unit, and the ball just moved around constantly. And I just feel like if we play like that, and along with keeping our defensive game plan, we should win game 2. But I just feel like the Bulls are going to have to be much more consistent. They're not going to have they can't have turnovers. They can't have any lapses. They can't have any bad shots, any forced shots. I feel like they're going to have to play much, much more sharper in game 2 to pull out the victory.
Good. All right. Good points. Good point. KG, what about you?
I'm going to say that they need to go ahead and, like you said, they need to come out the gate playing physical.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee don't like when teams play physical, and that's the reason why they really got into that rhythm and that run in the third quarter. They got to run the ball. I mean, not get the rebound. Only 2 guys running while the other 3 is back. They got to run the ball. Each rip get the rebound, push it. I think they need to switch up with ball handling. Sometimes have DeRozan be the facilitator, but also have Caruso. Caruso can definitely dish them down. Don't let Zach be the facilitator, because Zach, to me, don't have the best handles. Have some plays for Zach to just come out some screens or whatever, pop a couple of threes or slash to the basket. But they got to create some plays for Vooch down, more plays underneath for Vooch instead of the 3-point.
With that point, what you made with Vooch, I even feel like with that, they're trying to force feed him as well. And I feel like it has to come more natural. You know what I'm saying? If Milwaukee switches up what they're doing, where an opening is there for Vooch to get a good look, against somebody that he has an advantage over, I would pass him in the ball. But it doesn't have to be manual. We say, all right, this is where we're going to get Vooch the ball. Because the defensive pressure at that moment might not call for that.
Right.
So I feel like the Bulls just have to make the best play, have the Milwaukee Bucks on a string, move the ball as fast as you can, rapid ball movement, and get out and run against them. Put some pressure on them.
Exactly.
Take the ball to the rim and force them to foul you. That's another thing. Like Giannis had 5 fouls and nobody went at him to get him a 6th foul.
Nope.
And the referees kind of took away his 6th foul when he jumped over Pat's back, which should have been a 6th foul, but they still had the opportunity to go right at him and force him to, if you don't block me and you don't put no pressure on me because you're scared of your 6, I'm going to get an easy score. If you foul me, you out the game. So either way, that's going to help me out. The Bulls got to be able to read those situations. But nonetheless, I expect this game tomorrow to be, on Wednesday, I'm sorry, fans, to be a bloodbath. I really think it's going to be a tough game. Everybody thinking Milwaukee, they didn't play their game, so now they're going to come play the game. Man, we was down 16 points and fought back in that game. That was Milwaukee.
Right.
They just didn't. They overlooked the Bulls. And let's not underestimate the Chicago Bulls. They had some guys out all year. They're not really a 6 seed. Neither is Brooklyn a 7 seed. So it's like people got to really realize that these teams are good, but this year was just circumstantial because we was in a COVID year. But I think the Bulls can go out there and win it if DeMar DeRozan plays a little smarter with his possessions. Not saying he can't shoot, but he has to pick his spots and he has to know when to shoot it. And if the double teams come over, he got to make that adjustment and make that open pass. He has to do that. If he's able to do that, I think it makes him harder to guard because Milwaukee's not going to know what he can do. If you got Kobe White hitting shots and then you got some other guys. What happened to Matt Thomas? Matt Thomas is injured, right? Am I wrong or correct?
I thought he was healthy.
I think he's healthy. I think he just hasn't been playing.
He's supposed to be one of their best shooters.
Yeah, Billy Donovan got to put his shooters out there, and even when Vooch is in the post and they double team, you got to use those shooters. And if you double team DeMar, he can use those shooters. So those two, I feel like they can play off of the shooters at that double team. Zach don't even need anything. Zach could just create his own shot. Zach is Zach, and I feel he's gonna play better now that he got that monkey wrench off his back in his first playoff game.
And I even saw Tyler Cook, and I know y'all might not agree with this dude, Malcolm Hill from my alma mater, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he ain't the best shooter, but the dude, you put him in certain situations, he'll play his ass off. So we need somebody to just shut down Grayson Allen and all these other cats from getting off. And you put Malcolm Hill out there and get Tyler Cook some tick every now and then, to help out Tristan on them boards, man. Switch them lineups a little bit. Catch them off guard.
I want Javonte Green on Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Oh, yeah, he'll shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make my point. I'll say this, and you both know this, especially in the playoffs, this is definitely a game of adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I like the game plan that the Bulls came out with. I think that first thing they need to do is come out aggressive and not get blitzed like they did in the opening quarter of game one. First thing. I think that early you need to try to get Vooch's touches on the post and not let him gradually leak his way out to the three-point line because he likes to do that as the game goes on. Keep him down in the post and let him go to work. And like you said, you don't necessarily have to force feed him. Like, I don't need Vooch taking 26, 29 shots a game. I don't need that.
Right.
I'm good around if he gets around 15 to 20, I'm good in that kind of range for him. But I also need them to be efficient. Like, if he gets 20 shots, I'm gonna need 15 of those shots to be in the post.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I need for him. I also like the idea, like you said, of them running and getting Milwaukee, kind of catching them off guard like that, so they can't set up their defense.
Mm-hmm.
K-Dub, I will say this about your comparison to the Baby Bulls. The reason I don't think it'll work with the way the Baby Bulls played, and as far as, like you said, the ball moving and kind of having that free-flowing offense where everybody's going to touch it, I think the difference with the Baby Bulls was there was nobody who felt like I am the star, right?
Right.
Like, and I think you kind of get that with DeMar and with Zach, in feeling that I am the star. I'm an all-star. I am the star. And I think, with the Baby Bulls, like you said, you had Duhan, you had Heinrich, you had Luol Deng, you had Ben Gordon, right? Like, they would just move
Brad
like
Miller.
Yeah, like they're just moving the ball. Like, there is no kind of like I need to get 25 shots a game. Like, no, it wasn't any of that with them. It was we need to score, right? But that's a completely different mentality, right? So, I think going forward in game two, I really liked what they were doing. Like you said, less ISO ball. Like you said, having DeMar pick his spots, because we already know in the fourth quarter, what's kind of going to happen.
Hold up, that Baby Bulls team, they started 3-9 or 0-9. I know it was one of those. That Baby Bulls year.
Yeah.
They started the season 3-9 or 0-9, Tataka. It was 0-9?
I want to say 0-9 because a lot of times they didn't start getting the wins like after the 10th game or something like that.
I think
that was
it was
2004 season, right?
Yeah, I think it was 0-9. Yeah, but I do think, and like I said, I like the defensive intensity that the Bulls played with in game one, and I'll say this, ESPN doing what they do, they talking about playoff mode, Giannis activated or whatever. If this is going to be playoff Giannis, the Bulls can win this series.
Yes.
Because it wasn't like he did what he did in the finals, right? Like, okay, he had 27 and 16 boards. Okay, that's good. But it wasn't like, it wasn't a close game. It was a back and forth game, right? Like, for a team, if we're talking about general consensus that Milwaukee should be miles better than the Bulls and they're champions, like I said, if this is playoff Giannis, I'll take that, because that means we got a shot.
He's averaging 29 points, so he's an MVP candidate up there with Joel Embiid and the Joker. I believe
Yeah.
Joel
Yep.
Embiid is averaging a lot slightly.
He's averaging 30.
He's averaging 30, and the Joker's
30.6,
averaging
I
about,
believe.
and the Joker's averaging 26, right, or
Yep.
27.
20, I
But
think 26 and 13.
yeah, so he's up there with the big dogs, but at the same time, that don't have nothing to do with like strategizing against him in a game. And
Oh yeah.
you have to take a player's strengths away from him. And I feel like this guy just likes to have the path cleared, and the referees kind of help him out sometimes to clear that path where he could just dunk the basketball. I feel like when you build a wall up like the Bulls did last night, and you force him to be more skilled a distance away from the basket, he's going to hit some shots, but he's not going to hit a majority of them, and he's not going to be as effective as he will close to the rim. I think he even shot an air ball or shot a brick off the glass, trying to take a shot against the Bulls defense. They really got into him last night.
Yeah, Giannis is not a shooter. That's the thing.
I think they are beatable if you slow Giannis down. I mean, Middleton is not going to have a hot game every night. I'm not sold on him. I really don't think he should have been an all-star that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke Lopez is not going to kill you. Yeah, he'll get some rebounds. He's not the best three-point shooter, even though he like to try to pop it. Only one that probably can go off is Drew Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They don't have anybody. So if you slow down Giannis, you got a shot. And they did that last game. They slowed him down a little bit, and they had a shot. Like you said, you just gotta. If Zach was on point and DeMar was on point, slow Giannis down like they did. That game was ours.
Yeah.
The game was ours.
Yeah, but I would say this too. In playing the Bucks, I think you have to understand the way that they play. Quarters 1 through 3, you basically have to stop Giannis. Like that should be your game plan. Come the fourth quarter, especially in a tight game, their game plan switches to where Chris Middleton is the one who's handling the ball majority of the time, and the offense is running through Chris Middleton, and Giannis picks his spots. Like, yes, if he can go downhill easily, he's gonna do that. But if they're playing in a half court, Chris Middleton is the one who's orchestrating that offense, or Drew Holiday to an extent, right? Like, so you have to understand that too in game planning, right? Like, if we're keeping it close, I have to understand that come fourth quarter, like, yeah, I'm not saying just leave Giannis open, or I'm not saying that, but understand that come the fourth quarter, the offense is running through Chris Middleton, so I have to pay more attention to him in the fourth, especially, like in the same sense of like DeMar being the king of the fourth, right? Like, I mean, he's jacking it all game, like that doesn't really change, but
he wasn't the king of the fourth last night.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but teams had this understanding, like, okay, come fourth quarter, we have to definitely make sure we slow DeMar down, right? Like, I feel like the Bulls need to adjust to that and knowing, like, okay, we need to make sure that we disrupt Chris Middleton and his flow, right? Like, because it kind of goes Chris Middleton as far as ball handling, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are who you orchestrating the offense through. And like I said, Giannis picks his spots, whether it is kind of getting those offensive boards, or if he's doing less of that kind of pounding the rock and taking threes or taking mid-range shots in the fourth. That's quarters 1 through 3. In the fourth, it's pretty much okay. Can I get something easy at the bucket? If not, okay, Chris, you can get you get what you get, or Drew, you get what you get. So I think the Bulls need to have that in mind and make that adjustment in game 2.
Right. Maybe they need to have somebody else be the king of the fourth for a game. Throw them off their square.
Zach LaVine and DeMar got into it last night. I seen that. I don't know what happened, what was discussed, but
interesting.
Did you see that, Kataka?
I must have missed it.
Yeah, he was arguing right at him and said something aggressively to him.
Wow. Well, I hope it shows in this game.
I hope whatever it is, they got on the same page. Like
exactly.
That's what's gonna be important. Like I'm all fine. Like when Tristan Thompson, was young, I'm all fine. Get you on the same page.
Exactly.
It's a defending champs, right? Like you can't be dividing yourselves. That just makes it easy pickings. In Milwaukee, you don't even got to do nothing. If your two best players, getting into it, so whatever it is, and I'm sure they're professionals. They'll talk it out, figure it, whatever. But I'm looking for a bounce back shooting game from our quote unquote big three. It's really, more big 2.5, but I'll say, our big three coming back and having a much better shooting game and still keeping the same defensive intensity. That's what's going to be key. Because if you think that you're just going, okay, even if you are shooting well, right? Like, let's just say they come out scorching hot, right? You still got to match that defensive intensity. Like that's what kept you in the game. It wasn't your shooting, right? Like, you were in the game despite your shooting. So that should tell you something, that you got to keep that same level. Like, even if you don't, like, I understand and saying, okay, we got to take it up a notch to win. I totally get that. But I feel like if you keep it, at the very least, you need to keep it at the same level. At a minimum, you need to keep it there. If you can take it up, if you're capable of taking it up, take it up a notch, right? Like, put the heat on it. But if not, keep it at this level. So at the very least, you got a puncher's chance in this.
Right.
You're listening to the Bulls Guys podcast, where we talk about your Chicago Bulls and give an unbiased take. Thank you for listening, and like and subscribe.
Final word. Time for the final word. So the Chicago Bulls come up short in Milwaukee. A game where many can say the Bulls figured something out. It's not a total loss. The Bulls went into the game with a game plan, and they executed that game plan to perfection for 3 quarters at least. The Bucks showed some weaknesses that the Bulls can capitalize off of in Game 2. In Game 2, can the Bulls use the same strategy, and can they finally come up with a victory? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: winning the series will take mental toughness and besting your opponent. The Bucks have perfected this in the past because they are the defending NBA champions, a place to where the Bulls are trying to get to, a place where the Bulls can get to if they can match the Bucks' hunger, if they can match the Bucks' will to win. That's only the Chicago way, and it's something that Bulls fans will be looking forward to.
All right, Bulls fans, that has been our show. Thank you for sticking around with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe and comment. Let us know what you think about what we said. Again, this has been our show. I am your host, Greg Love, with K-Dub and KG.
Yo.
Right.
My final thoughts, man, is the Bulls, they gotta come for the W tomorrow. On Wednesday. I keep saying tomorrow because they got the Bulls with 2 days off. I think that's good for them. That'll help them out. They can look at some tape and get a good practice in. But yeah, I'm expecting to win Game 2, and I pretty much want to see the same thing we seen in Game 1. Higher intensity and more channel focus. Kataka.
Yeah, I agree with you, K-Dub. I mean, they showed last game that they had some fight. They shocked me. So I'm with you. I'm expecting them to come out. I expect them to edge it out. I do expect a few adjustments because I think right now they see that they have a shot. They see what's working and what needs to, to get better. And I think they're going to pull it out.
All right, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.